Hello, Flosstube. Elizabeth Martinez, phantastitches, here with my update number 435. Excuse me. um, yeah, hello. Uh, Today is Saturday, May 16th. We're in the middle of the spring mingle. I'm taking a few moments off to. I just did the Three Sisters creative video with my sisters this morning, and then I'm going to do this update, and then I'm going to try to get back to the spring mingle. I did attended some last night for a while, and then I'm going to do some more mingling uh, today, this afternoon. So I hope some of you are joining in that. That's fun and inexpensive way to meet with other stitchers and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm gonna do this update very quickly, fairly quickly. I really don't have a whole lot to share anyway, as it is. So last week I talked about Millie, the one of the Stacy Nash animal crackers that I worked on until I ran out of thread. Um, I have ordered some threads from Just Keep Stitching Co. The online shop that Stephanie Schaefer, is that her last name? Of Pam and Steph's, what do you call it? Just Keep Stitching. She recently started her Just Keep Stitching Co. Online shop. There's boxes right there. I meant to move those. But so I went ahead and ordered from her, just, kind of spread it around. So I ordered some things from her. I went to, actually, speaking of haul, I went to the shopping hall at the Spring Mingle. Spent more money than I meant to spend, and there was a couple of things I thought, ooh, maybe I should have ordered those as well. I don't know. I'll think about that. See if they still have them. But anyway, so last night, that's one of the first things I did, because I wanted, actually, there was some fabric that was, I guess, designed exclusively for the Spring Mingle. I think part of it was for one of the classes that they were offering, but it was also just an exclusive thing. And there are a few exclusive patterns, PDFs, that I order, a couple of them, I guess two, I don't know, that I ordered, and it's fabric. There was the size that I originally wanted, 32 count, was sold out. So I ordered 36, which is still, it's not too bad. It's not too difficult for me. But I ordered that, and I wanted to jump on it because I knew that it was it was one of those things that they would run out of. So I ordered the fabric and a couple of patterns, and I think a set of pins. Puccini had a set of pins that they were offering there in the shopping hall. So I think that's what I ordered: the pins, the fabric, and I think two or three, no, two PDFs, and I think there was a freebie that somebody, Hands On Design, I think, designed the little freebie. It's called Indigo Road. And matter of fact, I have to go. I meant to print those off before I did this update, and I didn't do that. But I shall print them off, and maybe I'll show it next week. So the only thing I've been stitching on this week is Lost and Found, the Silver Creek Samplers pattern, Lost and Found. And I was pretty sure I was not going to be able to finish it in the 7 days because there's a lot of stitching to do on it. But I made significant progress. I finished all these leaves. I had finished this little border, I think, last time. And there's a little dove there. It's been there. But so I finished the leaves on this branch. That's done. And I finished the sheep. There was a lot of stitching of the sheep. All I had left was this lighter beigey color, and one of the legs. The sheep only had 3 legs at the time, and I did the hooves. So the sheep is finished, and then I'm working right now on the words down here, and technically my 7 days. Excuse me. I hit 7 days as of Thursday. But last night I was working on this while I was doing the spring mingle, and also because what I have left for the month of May are my 2 new starts, and I had not yet decided on a fabric for either of them. But as of this morning, I decided on the fabric for one of them, and the other one I kind of think I know what I'm going to do with it. But anyway, so I was working on, you can see a little bit of the grass here that I started on, and then I went down here to do some of the words here. I'd like to go ahead and finish this phrase that goes underneath everything, and then there's one more section right here. I didn't want to start that because I had wanted to finish more of the grass here because that would give me a better excuse me, wouldn't have to count so far, but I may just count down and do the words here. I just have to count very carefully because it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere here, because it's a lot of stitching to put all that grass in there. There's like three or 4 shades of green here to be the grass. And then here there's a couple of flowers, and I'd kind of like to do those. But like I said, I've hit 7 days, so I don't know if I'm going to stitch more on this. I think I might for the rest of the spring mingle, or I might do those new starts, get those new starts going. I don't know. I kind of would like to finish working on this, to work on it some more, at least to get the words done. And maybe those flowers. I don't know. I keep saying it. And then there's another little, piece of border down here underneath the words. So, I don't know. I keep thinking, yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I can do it. Famous last words. Anyway, so that's where Lost and Found is. And if I don't do any more stitching, I've hit the 7 days, so technically I'm done. So yeah. So then, so I did decide, I was going back and forth between these 2 fabrics for one of my new starts, which is Moongazer by Heartstring Samplery. I showed this before. So I looked a little closer at the pattern, and this is all kind of negative space. The blue around the moon, there's some like little stars and all of this. All of this is just fabric, just not stitched. The white down here is stitched. And like I said, there's some stars, little isolated stars, and then this moon is stitched, and the trees, of course, and then the rabbit. But the sky is blue fabric. It was on the model. It's Fiber on a Whim Night Sky 36 count is the blue sky. So I needed a blue fabric. So I was thinking about this, but it's a little bit lighter than this. This is a darker blue. This fabric is 28 count even weave, and it's very pretty. It's very nice. And even weave is nice to use, but it's a little bit on the light side for that night sky. It's more like a daytime sky. Yeah. So it's got a little bit of a dark patch maybe here, here, but overall it's on the lighter side. So that was one of my options. But what I can't fold this back again. Oh, stop it. But So I'm going to put this on here so I don't lose track of the... There used to be a dialing for dollars thing that you had to know the count and the amount to win. Just popped into my head all of a sudden. So this is 28 count Monaco Lugana, basically. It's a little bit bigger piece, but it's dark. Oh, ah! So I, can cut it down for that pattern, but it's a little bit darker. So like here, especially, it's wonderfully dark. So I think this piece, this is both of these are pieces of fabric that I dyed myself. But so, and I think I had originally dyed them thinking for all those Beneath the Waves or whatever it's called, Beneath the Sea, the cross stitch rainbow patterns that came out for market. And I think that's what I originally had dyed these for, but heck, I can just dye some more. I wanted to do that night sky on this piece of fabric, I think. So yeah, and I had all this grab bag fabric that I was looking through because I thought maybe something in there would be appropriate because I knew there were some blues and things, but they're all, because they're from the grab bag, they're like the ends of a piece of fabric or whatever, so most of them they're kind of long and narrow, so they're like 7.5 to 8.5, maybe 9 inches, whatever. And anyway, none of them was the right appropriate size. The width, this is 98 by 119. So 119 lengthwise, but 98 across. And so it would have to be like 36 count, it would have to be 9.5 inches wide. And none of the little grab bag pieces were quite wide enough. Yeah, so like I said, I'm using that piece of Lugana, I think, for this. So it would have to be 11 by 12.5 with that Lugana. My other new start, of course, is this Nevermind by Lindy Stitches. And I have not chosen a fabric for that, but I think I have, because I was looking at this picture. It's hard to see because it's a very small picture, but it's done on kind of, looks like a grayish fabric, because this pattern has, I don't want to show the whole pattern, but it has like these little candelabras on there, and the top, the flames of the candles look a little bit light colored. I think the candles are kind of a white color, yeah, an off white. 3866 is the DMC color, and it's like 3865 is a white. 3866 is that in that same category. So it has to be dark enough for the candles and the candle and the flames to show up. Otherwise, it's mostly black, and then there's these sort of red flowers on the bottom. Yeah. So for the candles to show up, it has to be dark enough, and I think I have some Ada from Artiste, the Hobby Lobby brand. I have some grayer colored Ada that I think would work for that. So I think that's what I'm going to do for that. And then Sherry Berger, who does, she has Colorado Cross Stitcher is her name online. And she has a shop, and if you're in it's in Colorado, but she has a brick and mortar shop. You can go in, and she has all kinds of stuff there, fabrics and threads and patterns and stuff. But anyway, she sent out a newsletter. I'm subscribed to her newsletter, and she in the newsletter she talked about cross stitch camp. Finally, she's going to do a Flosstube sometime in the next couple weeks talking about cross stitch camp. And so I was waiting and waiting and waiting because I was thinking, I know she's going to have a patriotic stitch as one of the prompts for this year, especially. So she did release the prompts in her newsletter, and then she's going to talk about it, some more again in her video. So for the June prompt, the June prompt is stitch something from a magazine, and I have a couple of issues, I think, of the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine. Most of my stuff again is in storage, and so like my whole, all my back issues of Punch Needle are in storage. Excuse me, but and unfortunately, I let my subscription lapse because we were in the process of moving, and I didn't want to put my have the address mix up, and then also I was at the time I was paying for the storage unit, and I kept thinking, well, I'll do it next month because then I'll have more money or whatever, and I just never did. I kept putting it off, and also I didn't want to get like, I wanted to make sure I was getting the current issue or the whatever, so I didn't want to buy the issue because I kept thinking I was going to renew my subscription, and so I don't have the summer, the one that came out. I think I don't think I got the winter issue either because we were in the middle of all the moving and stuff, and my subscription had run out or something. I don't know. So I'm missing a couple of issues, and I still want to sign up for it, but I think I might do just the digital subscription so that because then I would have access to all the digital stuff, just not have the physical magazine. Anyway, so June's prompt was stitch something from a magazine, and like I said, the Punch Needle magazine is full of beautiful punch needle and cross stitching designs. So anyway, that's the June prompt. The July prompt is, of course, do something patriotic, either patriotic or something that contains the colors of the flag of your country, whatever country you're in. So I had decided, because I was looking again at my patriotic patterns, to find something that was small enough to do for cross stitch camp, because I want, of course, you want to start it at least by the 1st and finish it by the 30th or 31st of the month. So for my patriotic stitch, I'm going to do Freedom Flock, and this is a Plum Street Samplers, one of her little stacks of animals. And you can't see it very well on this picture, but there's a little baby eagle up there, little baby eaglet on top of this eagle, So I'm going to do this. This is 57 by 91, so I think I can do that easily in July, because I'm still going to be, doing my July WIPGO. So I don't know. So, but this is the fabric I'm going to be doing it on. This is from that grab bag. See, they're all kind of narrow cuts like this. This is 36 count. Yeah, 12.5 by 7.5. So it's only 7.5 inches wide, but I've done my cross stitch calculator thing, and it should fit. This is we think it was 36. Eve and I sat down with a ruler and we're counting all the little uh, holes, and so it's either 32 or 36, I guess. But it should work. So, and I like that. I like this dusky blue color. Um, I have some that are more like this was done on a sort of a neutral color, but that the white on these eagles doesn't show up really well on this, even like in person. I mean, you can see them a little bit more easily in person, but yeah, I like that blue fabric. This, of course, has like Chesapeake is one of the blues. Maybe that's the only blue in there. I think all the other colors, yeah. Um, Chesapeake, Weak Works Chesapeake is the blue, I think, in this. Um, there might be a DMC blue in there also. Is it because there's some DMC colors, so it might be one of the blues. But I think it would show up on this fabric. If not, I'm gonna have to do a floss toss to begin with, I think. If not, I might go with one of the more neutral colors. But I really want to use this blue for Freedom Flock. And then so June is magazine, July is patriotic, and then August is stitch something new to you. And I didn't know what I was going to do because I've done I mean, there's a whole bunch of designers out there, there's probably lots and lots of people designers I've never stitched before. But I've stitched on various different kinds of fabric, both Aida and linens or even weaves or whatever. So that's not exactly new to me, I think I've stitched on all kinds of different counts of fabric. I've used all kinds of different threads, both Fancy Floss. I've used Weeks. I've used Classic Colorworks. I've used Gentle Arts. I've used silks. Not every brand of silk, but Gloriana silks. I think all the silks I've used are Gloriana. I don't know, but and of course DMC and so. So I was trying to, I don't know what I wanted to stitch new, but I wanted to stitch Glory in the Wind. I've talked about this. I thought about this as my patriotic, or just, the whole just started. Excuse me. But because it's 128 wide and 101 high. So it's a little bigger than I would like, but a lot of it is negative space. It's not stitched. All of this, in between these ribbons of red and white, there's a lot of empty, space in there. And then all around, the words and stuff. And so it might not be as, dense as, it's not 118 dense stitches, right? So I would like to do this. I don't have a fabric for it yet, specifically for it yet, but yeah, I don't think any of the grab bag fabrics are big enough for this. This, is the narrower side, and I don't think anything I have. This would be like, with 36 count, it's 9.5 inches. I don't think I have anything that's that size. Maybe 9.5, but I don't know about the color and all that, So I might have to just find a different fabric, possibly dye something, because this is kind of done on a neutral. but again, the white stitching doesn't show up all that well. So if I do a neutral, I might like, coffee or tea dye it or something. Some of that grab bag fabric is a little bit on the darker, like a tan, darker tan color. Um, but like I said, I don't think anything is quite wide enough, for this width. So, but this is what I want to do for August because Robin Pickens cross stitch is a new designer for me because I thought, have I done Robin Pickens? Her name sounds familiar, but I think it's just because people have talked about this pattern. I do have a Little Robin Designs that to my dear father design is Little Robin Designs, but not Robin Pickens. And and I checked my thread stash listing, because I've tried to put all of my patterns in thread stash. But so I went to look at my thread stash listing, and I thought, is it possible to sort by designer, sort the projects by designer? No, it's not. They're in thread stash according to the title of the pattern, and like putting the designer's name in I guess is optional when you list your projects on in thread stash. So it doesn't sort by designer. So I had to go down this list of, including all you can tell it to hide the completed patterns and just show the ones that are not started or in progress. But I went ahead and told it to show me everything, and then I went through and I thought, well, okay, those I know by title are not Robin Pickens, and so it was only the ones that I wasn't sure about or had didn't know who the designer was off the top of my head when I looked at it. So I didn't have to look at every single pattern because there's like 100 and something, 200 something patterns, counting all the completed ones. But anyway, so yes, this is new to me. I've never done a Robin Pickens design before, so that will work for August. So that's coming up this summer, but in the meantime, I have those two new starts, and I would like to stitch a little bit more on Lost and Found. So, other than that, I think I'm done. I'm going to get back to the spring mingle. Yeah, and oh, I wanted to mention, I mentioned this in our Three Sisters video, but the this morning I was watching, I was looking at Facebook, and one of the people that I follow on Facebook is a guy named Steve Grieg, known as Wolfgang online, and he's a guy who he used to live in Colorado, but he just I guess last fall or last year sometime moved into a house in Ohio. He moved to Ohio, and it's an old like kind of turn of the century house. Like it's I think it's 3 stories high. I don't know if it has a basement or not, but anyways, it's a big house. A beautiful, beautiful house. Lots of lots of woodwork and just all kinds of stuff. But anyway, but he has 9 dogs, and they're all like senior dogs. And he also has some chickens and a pig, Bikini the pig, and some other animals, including a black chicken named Betty and a white chicken named Betty White. Anyway, but so he had posted some pictures of some of his dogs, and recently, and he said something about one of his dogs is one of his newer ones. Talks a lot, and he said it reminded him of a girl he went to school with when he was growing up in Hobbs, New Mexico. Now, it's like I didn't know he was from Hobbs. I guess I just kind of assumed he was from Colorado or whatever. Um, but but yeah, he said something about growing up in Hobbs, and he said this girl he knew when he was young, when he was like I don't know in elementary school, that she taught him something about like a dirty limerick set to the tune of Beverly Hillbillies, and but then she also taught him a phrase that is not it's not a dirty phrase, not using any dirty words, but if you say it loud enough, it sounds like you're saying cuss words, but you're not, or something like that. But it's something like I got dandruff and it really itches, something like that. But you leave the word I out and you say it really loud. It sounds like a dirty word, like you're saying dirty words. But anyway, it was very funny. But he was from Hobbs. He grew up in Hobbs, and so somebody else commented, oh, I didn't know you were from Hobbs, and they mentioned a couple of names. I think they asked if he was in band or something, and he said, he played the saxophone in band, and and so this person mentioned a couple of names, and you may have known these people. And one of the names she mentioned was Dr. James Whitlow, who went on to become the director of bands at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque. And I thought, I know James Whitlow. I know the name because he was my dad's high school band director, I believe, James Whitlow. And my dad talked about him a lot because Dr. Whitlow helped my dad get a scholarship to a college in Texas. Now, my dad ended up not being able to use that scholarship because he couldn't afford, this was in the 40s, he couldn't afford to, the housing and, the costs. The scholarship was just for the music classes or whatever, but did not include, for housing. And so he was basically unable to afford the housing and all, so he wasn't able to use a scholarship. But he talked about Dr. Whitlow all the time, and I thought, well, that's weird, yeah. I didn't know I didn't know Steve was from Hobbs, and B, I didn't know that this other person knew Dr. Whitlow or whatever. Um, but so I replied to him. I said, I didn't know you were from Hobbs. I said I'd never been to Hobbs, but I went to school with a girl from Hobbs, a girl named Jo Beth. And he said, so he replied back to me, he said, is that Jo Beth Williams? I was like, yes, Jo Beth Williams. It's a small world. Yeah, I didn't know he knew her. She was a bassoon student like I was at UNM. She was a music ed major, I think. Jo Beth Williams. Anyway, yeah, that was very shocking. It's like, gosh, that's a bizarre personal connection to, with Dr. Whitlow and Jo Beth Williams. Anyway, so I'm going to wrap this up and go get back to the spring mingle, and yeah. So next week, I hope to be able to show my two new starts. Is next week still? I know it's not the end of May yet. Oh, I mean what I'm going to show you. So my sister Naomi, she stopped to get our McDonald's drinks before our video, and she went inside because she was ordering some stuff and whatever, and she went to use the restroom while she was waiting for her order to be done, and she saw, I don't know if you can see it right here, this guy in the bathroom, big gigantic spider. Big. Yeah, she told him when she went to the counter, she told him, you have a monster in the bathroom. Yeah. So yeah, it was pretty scary. Um, and she said because she got it here she got the drinks here in Queen Creek. She goes on Saturday morning. She goes to get eggs, um, not far from here, and so she had stopped to get to go to McDonald's, and so she's like, "What's going on in there? Giant spiders in Queen Creek." So yeah, it's not far from here. So she says, "Yeah, you probably have spiders like that out here." I'm like, no. It was bad when I moved out here to Arizona. One of the things I was afraid of is like seeing a scorpion in person, and I have seen too when I was a few years ago before I moved out here. We went. We camped in Sedona. It's an old cabin. It's an old homesteading. I think once upon a time that that property out there was like a ranch, or farm or ranch or something, and so the original like house I think has been added on. So, but it belongs to the National Park Service, I think. So they rent it out. You can stay there um, in a cabin. And so my parents and and both of my sister's families and I all met at this cabin, and we were all in there higgledy piggledy. Well, Eve and I were in the what was originally like the maid's quarters or whatever, the back bedroom at the back of the house, and everybody else was like in the other bedrooms and living room and stuff. But there was lots and lots of like wildlife. We saw all kinds of bugs and animals and all kinds of stuff out there. But so that we were in the back bedroom. There was a bathroom there, and then in the back door. And the only problem was like this building, house, whatever you call it, was relatively rustic, and that back door had cracks in it. It wasn't the best repair. And so when we that first night that we got there, you weren't allowed to bring animals in the cabin, but my sister had a dog. My older sister had a dog, and they had to bring the dog with them because there was nobody to watch the dog at home. And so the idea was that the dog could sleep outside. But then, like when we got there that night, there were like, I guess some scorpion had had babies, and they were little baby scorpions all over the place. So she couldn't leave the dog on the ground out there, and so the poor dog had to sleep in the van. And but there's lots of little scorpions out there, and one of them actually came in the back door. So I went to use the restroom at night, and there was a little baby scorpion, and so we were fortunately able to sort of kill it and get it out the door. But so that was scary enough year before I moved out here. But then when we lived in the house in Ahwatukee, at one point there was a scorpion in there in the kitchen, and I had to call my nephew Robert to come and kill it. I think it was. I don't think my parents. Maybe it was after my parents passed away. I don't know. I don't remember. Or maybe it was just Robert was the one that was home at the time, and so I had to call him to come and kill the scorpion. Anyway, yeah. So I haven't been stung by a scorpion, thankfully, and I hope to never encounter one here. Yeah. So anyway, that was yeah. So Naomi saw the big, ugly, scary spider, big spider. Yeah, I don't want to see that. Anyway, so yeah, so I inflicted it upon you. So anyway, I'm gonna try to get back to the spring mingle, and so next week I should have some progress on my new starts, and we'll see what happens then. All right. Oh, so I meant to look at my calendar. I looked at a big spider instead. Um, yeah, next weekend is the 23rd, and the weekend after that is the 30th. So I have lots of time to work on my new starts and everything, and to prepare for cross stitch camp. So until then, thank you for watching, and thanks for all my any new subscribers and my returning subscribers. Thanks a lot, and I will see you next week. Thanks. Bye.